of my week. And so I'm going to try to keep the introductory short because I feel like I said I'm redundant with my intro in this, but I mean, literally, with our platform, our primary mission statement is to connect, elevate, and inspire realtors and partners in the city of Chicago, and not just help everybody maintain their businesses, but to really thrive. And I mean, it's a critical time. I mean, Amanda, we were sharing before the call, it feels like the Twilight Zone. You know, it's like 2020 is having, what did you say?
It's like having a newborn. Every day is so long, yet you blink and it's been 9 months, 10 months.
It is. I mean, yeah, that's a perfect analogy. We've been through a lot. Pandemic, racial unrest, COVID, an election. I mean, in my opinion, every election's earth-shattering, but this one really was. And so with it being difficult, it saddens me because we can't connect in person at our large events. But I mean, this is what we have. This is kind of the jam, pun very much intended. And when it's difficult to connect with people in just larger group settings,
I need to come up.
it's I'm getting a little bit of feedback. It's you know, it's a great way to collaborate, share ideas, share insights, pick each other's brains. And you know, if you look at a lot of the news and the media, the world seems to be ending. So we try to keep these very collaborative, very, you know, just value driven for one another. And so why did I invite these people on this call? Just the agents and partners on here are the best of the best. This is how we roll. So that being said, I'm going to have the realtors briefly introduce themselves, and then the partners introduce themselves, and then I'm literally going to shut up because nobody really cares what I have to say. I'm just the facilitator. So Kate, why don't you go ahead and kick us off and fire away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Waddell with Compass. And Andy, thank you so much for putting together this rockstar group. I'm honored to be chatting with all of you this morning. I have so much love for all the people in this room. I have been selling real estate for 14 years. Hard to believe. I'm super old.
Hi, I'm Amanda McMillan. Thanks for having us. Andy, I was actually looking back. I think I was part of one of the first or second jam sessions. So it seems like a long time since we did this. I'm going on my 19th year in business. So Kate, if you're old, that means I'm ancient. I appreciate that. But once again, just honored to be a part of this group. I saw the rock stars that were coming out in this, and just some of my favorite people in the industry, and just really excited to collaborate. That's such a huge part of our industry. And so glad that you do this for us.
Honored.
Am I next?
Sure, why not?
Okay, I'm Alex Wolking with Keller Williams One Chicago as of yesterday. Been in the business now for April, it'll be 10 years.
I think I'm next. I don't know. I'll just go next.
Yeah.
Honor to be with you guys today. Good to see Kate. Kate and I worked together for a number of years. We had a lot of fun. So a lot of houses. Alex and I are personal friends. So, and just respect the heck out of everybody on this. Nick Libert, Exit Realty. I've been in the business 22 years. Went to Exit about 12 years ago. Also a partner in Strategic Title Company. So honored to be here today, and looking forward to sharing.
Morning, everybody. Dennis Huyck. I'm at Keller Williams One, along with Alex. This will be my 20th year in the business. And if this is a group of rock stars, my job would be the roadie in this group. Honored to be with you guys. So I'm in charge of sound and bringing all the equipment up.
Dennis, Dennis is like the most humble guy I know. That's funny. That I think, Amanda, you're right. You were on one of like the first one or two. You were the guinea pig, so thank you. On that,
I may have been with Amanda on that one early on, Andy.
I think so.
Highly possible. I'm trying to think. We should do. I don't know if you guys know this. We actually have an app. Let me do a quick screen share. I'm gonna start. It would be really funny as a like a timeline. Let me find this here. I don't even know if this is gonna work. I probably should have rehearsed this, but this is, you know, this is just how we roll. This is real producers. So screen share. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this is it. There's December. we can take it, we can upload the last, like the YouTube links to the app. So this is currently free. We were supposed to launch this in 2021, but so we took all the funding from the events because obviously the large in-person stuff were on pause, and sunk it into the app. And so we should start releasing the jam sessions like a Netflix series, like the first 5 jam sessions from June 1st to July 1st or whatever. It would be kind of cool to see how far that we've come. So I think that would actually be, you prompted an idea. See, I'm already on the jam session and learning stuff.
Collaboration.
That's right. It's a good idea, but I need to shut up and get out of the way. So that being said, so most of you know me. I have a very dry, very sarcastic sense of humor. There are 5 love languages. If you've read that book, you know, it's like physical touch, words of affirmation. I can't remember the other one. Gifts, obviously, that's my wife's is gifts. So the sixth love language is sarcasm. Okay, and that's mine. However, this is the 1% of my life that I will be very frank, and I'm not being sarcastic right now. I'm very thankful for the people that we get to work with. Kevin, Saul, Sonny, these are our partners on this call. I literally have no job without them. They're the one who fund the publication. I know you guys come. I get a lot of love and just, hey, thanks for the magazine. My feature looked great, blah, blah. These are the people who make it happen. I'm just very blessed that I can put it together and craft a work of art. There's a lot of love that goes into that. So, I mean, I want to thank you guys. Like, nothing that I do is possible without the partners on our call. So I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for the support. 2020 has been a crapshoot. And so I want to give the partners an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'll start jamming, because you guys aren't here to hear us introduce ourselves if you're watching this on the live feed. So Kevin, why don't you go ahead and go first? Then I think Saul hopped on, and then Sonny, and then we'll start talking shop about real estate and industry specific things. So Kevin, go ahead, my man.
Sure. Kevin Camden, Camden Law Office, protecting your real estate investment from purchase to sale. You guys were all identifying how long you've been in the industry. I've just crossed the 23-year mark, so I've seen a fair amount in that time myself.
Was that Tommy? That's right, Tommy.
And with that, I'll hand it off to Saul.
Hey, honored to be here, guys. Thank you for having me on, Andy. Saul from Blu Cleaning here in Chicago. Been in business for over 7 years, and we're just here as a resource to enhance the image of every establishment we touch. So glad to be here, guys.
Well, good morning. My name is Sonny. First of all, I want to thank you, Kate, for introducing me to the Chicago Real Producer. Without you, I won't be here right now. Andy, thanks for the huge opportunity, and thank you everyone for the opportunity. My name is Sonny, the owner of Sonny Biggy Fitness, and also a boy in his dream, the foundation you know. There's a story behind what I do, how I'm able to bring my energy to improve others. COVID has kicked our butt, you know. We know we have different emotions. Everybody have different feelings and different emotion from me, and I'm glad we're here today, still alive. I just want to thank you guys. I do health and wellness. I'm a fitness coach. I've been doing it for over 17 years, but I'm veteran for 5 years in Chicago because I moved from Indiana to Chicago 5 years ago, and I'm glad I made that decision. If not, I wouldn't have met every great people right now that I'm surrounding myself with. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man. We appreciate you being on the call. So this is the part where I get out of the way. This is your time to pick each other's brains, glean insights, talk shop. What do you guys want to kick it off with?
I would love to hear what everybody had as their biggest mistake of 2020, what your learning experience was. I'm happy to share mine to kick it off.
Pick which one?
You know, I think for me, the biggest thing was time management. I had a very regimented schedule. I'm a big fan of the book, The Miracle Morning. I was on that schedule for years. I created a habit around it. I thought that was going to be a lifetime thing for me. And the minute you told me I didn't have to do certain things and that the gyms were closed down and that people didn't need me in a certain place at a certain time, I fell right off of that habit. And it was shocking to me how quickly a lot of the things that I took for granted in terms of my morning lead generation, the way I communicated with people, the way that I ate, the amount that I had red wine at night. I mean, it all just went through the crapper. And it was really disappointing to me that quickly you could have a habit that goes away because a little bit of structure was taken away from you. So that was a big learning experience. It took me about 6 weeks to measure that, figure it out, and bounce back. But that was my biggest one. I'd love to hear what everybody else's was.
I'll go next. I mean, realistically, I think it's somewhat similar to that. I don't know if I'd necessarily call mine time management as much as I'd call it kind of life management. It was just one of those things that I, as a business owner, as somebody trying to take care of my own self, and as somebody that has little kids at home, I mean, everything, I have so much help in my life to make it work efficiently that all of a sudden we had the plug pulled on having that help. So we had to figure out how to implement all those things. I will say, if anything, maybe this is the glory of it. I feel like my familial unit has had to band together as this troop of fighters to get through everything. But it was kind of those learning curves. I mean, I think for the first at least 3-4 months of this, I felt like my sleeping habits went out the window, just because it was, okay, well, I'm used to, sending my kids to daycare or doing this. And all of a sudden we just had to fit more things in that same window of time. And everything we were doing now took more time, every piece of protocol. So, I mean, I guess it's a level of time management, but just looking at the whole shift of our lives and trying to reorganize it, I felt like that was just one giant cluster. Everyone else is perfect. I get it.
I'll go.
Go ahead, man.
My biggest challenge was as a single father. I planned everything out, ranging from dropping my kids off in school, then going by my business, visit, because we are mobile trainers, so we visit clients. So when these things happen, it dawned on me that I'm in trouble. What am I going to do as a single father? How am I going to babysit my kids and still provide for my children? So I quickly, strategically plan and move all the clients to virtual so that I can be at home and virtually just train on my clients. So 85% of my clients are all virtual. So 15 to 10% are the ones I have to visit. That means I don't need 24-hour babysitter that will take all the money that I'm producing. So that means I just need extra amount of hour for a babysitter in my house for me to become. That's what we did. Well, it was heartbreaking. I was panicking, but I quickly stopped panicking and strategized and moved forward. It was rough.
Kudos to you, Sonny. I don't know how we do it with 2 people taking care of kids on a regular basis. So kudos to you for getting through this with only one.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Seriously.
I'll go next. For me, it's been patience, to be honest. For me, working from home a few days during the week and having 2 kids who are 4 and 3 years old. I'll tell you what, trying to balance work and trying to balance the kids I give props to all the stay-at-home single dads, single moms out there, and the teachers. How about them? Big props. You just don't realize what goes into really taking care of these kids until you actually have them for 7 days in a row. So one thing I've learned is to be a lot more patient with the kids, obviously with the family, but that also transitions into work, right? I think for us in the cleaning world, it's go, go, go. But sometimes you really have to be patient as far as maybe getting these accounts that aren't necessarily around right now, and just kind of, trust the process. So patience is the big key for me this year.
I'll go next. So I feel like the word grace is something that I've learned this year that I'm not necessarily the best at giving myself, but I feel like everyone on this call needs to give themselves a huge amount of grace. Everybody that we know has pivoted and changed their plans and dealt with more than any of us have ever dealt with this year. And we've all done it with a lot of grace. And I think we should all be really, really proud of ourselves. It's mid-December. We're about to close out the year. The vaccine is coming, better times ahead, right? But I think we can all probably look back at various points throughout the year and say, I didn't give myself enough grace, and we should, right? So that's something I'm trying to interject into my daily kind of in the morning in my morning routine, like just thinking about, okay, give yourself grace. Like I'm not going to be the best. I cannot be the best mom, the best wife, the best friend, the best realtor. I can't do it all. Right. So like something's going to lose, and that's okay. That's just reality. But allowing yourself that grace, I think, is really, really important. I had a question, if we could circle back to Nick really quick. How did you get yourself back into your routine? Because that's something I'm struggling with, like with no strict format and no, like you said, we don't have to like rush out of the house. It's really, really hard for me to get that morning workout in. And I'm curious, like, do you have any tips on how you kind of forced yourself back into it? Because I see you working out every morning. Help me.
Well,
Help me.
Kate, first of all, I just adore you. And I think that the word grace, I actually had to learn to give grace, not only to myself, but people around me. I was getting very, very impatient. Like the one gentleman mentioned, that was just a really bad trait that I developed. And with the morning routine, I'm one of the types of people, it's almost like you have to burn me. I have to get burned by a hot stove to learn not to touch it. And I just saw myself gaining weight. I saw myself losing productivity. And at least for me, if I wake up and there's already messages and calls and people already need me, I get very anxious. And I never used to have to deal with anxiety. And this year my anxiety went through the roof. And I'm like, that's just not me. And, Kate, I see you nodding to that. I had to get my hand burned by that stove a little bit, where I'm like, okay, I'm anxious. Well, now, I don't want to get any of this stuff done. And I'm like, I need money more than ever this year. I'm not sure what the next month or 2 months is going to look like. Now, we ended up, a lot of us had our best year ever because we are in the mindset of being top producers, but I had to get burned in order to get back into it. And it took me, they say it takes 21 days to develop a habit. It took me about 14 days of dragging myself back into that routine. I was not naturally a morning person, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I made myself one by doing that 21 days of misery. And then it wasn't miserable anymore. It was delightful. I love it. But I had to get burned and then get back into it. So, I'm happy to talk with you a little bit more about it offline too, but it was just time blocking and being, kind of backing it up 15 to 30 minutes a day to get, I'm not going to sit there and go from, okay, I'm waking up at 7 to waking up at 5. I had to go back to by like 15 minutes to 30 minutes a day to get there. But I got back there and it's been back to the miracle morning. I love it.
Nick, you look like a bouncer at a Manhattan nightclub right now. So
I know there's a suit jacket to this, but it's too hot at my house. I'm at my home office and I had the heat up from earlier, so the jacket's on the floor.
One of the things I wanted to jump in and point out, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but the question started with our bloopers and kind of adversities. And what I love about this, and I think this is just an attestament to a group like this, is that we've gone from that to we've evolved it into what we've learned and how we've grown from it. I just think that that's kind of what gets all of us here, is the fact that we have these adversities, and 2020 has been a year of so much adversity, and just kind of watching how this group in 10, 15 minutes took the mistakes and started to grow with it is just something I kind of wanted to point out. I think going back to the grace, it's like realizing those accomplishments, realizing what we're doing well. And gosh, this year has tested us a lot.
It's also, I agree with you, Amanda. There was, depending upon whether you're half full, half empty, this has also been a year of a lot of opportunity. When we got hit with the first shutdown order in March, I identified 3 projects that I'd been neglecting for a long time: web page redesign, social media engagement through a company, and finished publishing a book. And I did all of those. And those are some pretty long projects. Now, there's other time that was wasted, I think, that I could have used better, but I think we all had a lot of opportunities early on. And even initially with the first call that I'm certain you and I were on, one of the first jams, Amanda, folks pivoted quickly, and as Dennis said earlier, if this is the Rockstar Group, you guys have certainly demonstrated it. And at best, I'm the security guard just checking IDs as you guys are all going into the venue, that's for sure.
Wait, I thought Nick was the security guard.
No, he was a roadie. He was smart. No, I'm sorry.
Dennis was the roadie. Nick was
that's
the
right.
security.
Yeah.
I'm the roadie.
I'm the promoter. I'm the promoter.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hey, big thanks to Andy, because in these times where we all got shut down and we're not spending time in the office and we're at home and we're having this anxiety, right? So I'm grateful, Kate, that you brought up grace, and we have to give ourselves grace. And it makes it easier when we all get together and share, you know, the stresses that we went through this year. So it feels good that some of these rock stars that I know are so successful and so good at what they do are feeling some of the same feelings that, you know, we all felt behind closed doors. So thanks to you, Andy, for that.
I appreciate it. It's really an honor to do it. And yeah, it's like there's always stuff that swims in your head that you just kind of want to get out. Like it's my pastor. I'll be frank. He always says like people will come to him with like marital counseling, and his analogy is little shout out to Nathan Brown. He always says, you know, you can fix a car if you know you get a fender bender, or if you get a broken window, or you know if maybe you don't get an oil change right away. But he's like, if you drive a car off a cliff and total it, you can't fix the car. You got to get a new car. So it's like it's good to voice those thoughts in your heads and just get them out rather than, you know, you're so in your head and then it's too late. So
adding to grace, thank you, Kate. You know, grace is something that I really need to think about since I'll be running like, you know, rabbit hair cut up on Christmas Day. I never thought about grace. I thought that, oh my God, I have to keep going. Thanks for bringing that up. And also to Amanda, adversity is a key component that enhances any growth. Without adversity, you cannot grow. I really want to thank you for capitalizing on adversity. And I always crave for adversity. Bring it, because that's what's going to help me catapult to a different level. And I see a bunch of rock stars here right now that's going to blow it up in 2021. I cannot wait and see how everyone's going to like rock it in 2021. Thank you.
Beautifully said, Sonny. And the one thing I wanted to tell everyone, like, I'm sure you guys all think of this, right? I feel like every deal this year has been incredibly difficult. Like every single one I put together has been so hard. And I think it's because everyone is going through a really tough time. And so people's emotions are high and people are anxious and people have a lot going on in their lives. And we have to remember to think of that when people are not behaving nicely. And I did one of the toughest deals I did this year was with this broker. He was so nasty. The whole deal, he was difficult. And he showed up to the final walkthrough. And I said, oh, you know, I'm so happy that we're getting this done or whatever. It's been a rough road. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, my wife died yesterday. Yeah. And I had no idea. And so he had been going through this 30, 45 days of his wife being sick and in the hospital. And I had no clue until he stood and looked me in the eyes at the final walkthrough with literal tears, telling me his wife had just passed away yesterday. So we just don't know what the other person is going through, right? So like, we just have to give our, like I've been, like you said, Nick, I've been so frustrated with so many clients this year because they're just have unrealistic expectations or whatever it may be. And we just have to remember, like, we have no clue what's really going on in their lives. Like, just give them a little bit of grace. As much as
that's an amazing point. I mean, the reality is, and I've kind of gotten myself in so many conversations about this, is just understanding that everybody is at their peak, right? Everybody is dealing with something on this, you know, whether it's a client, whether it's an attorney, whether it's the other agent, everybody is somewhat taxed in these situations. And so we're having to then all of a sudden deal with these very stressful situations anyways. We know that buying and selling homes are so stressful for people. And I've kind of said that this year has brought out the worst in a lot of people, which just makes our job that much more difficult and that much more contentious. And I think that's it. It's just sometimes, and I find myself all the time trying to say, okay, just take a deep breath. I know that I'm at my peak, but everyone else is too. And maybe if I can bring my own self back a little bit, maybe we can try and, you know, have a domino effect on other people. But I think that's a huge point that we have to remember, especially as we start going into this new year. It's not, that stuff isn't all going to evaporate. It's just compounding until we're able to find these releases and find better points. So if we can kind of be a little bit of the start of this, you know, better treatment, less contentious, it's got to start somewhere.
It does. And I really, one of the things that this year I learned was that, you know, doing these to-do lists and kind of like breaking yourself down every day into either a machine or a party animal or whatever pivot you're doing, you know, you just have to have some moderation in what you expect out of yourself and others around you. I stopped doing to-do lists at the advice of a life coach. they said, why don't you create a menu every day, but your menu can't just be work. It's got to have personal things. It's got to have financial goals. And going back to Kevin's point, it took me a while to figure that out and actually start implementing it. But all of a sudden I realized, hey, there's stuff I put off for 2 years that I wanted to do, whether it was a passion project or, projects at my house. And by creating a menu that I could choose from every day and out of each category versus these to-do lists that, again, going back to anxiety, they never used to bother me. Somehow this year, stuck in my house and with a very, great but small core group of people that I got to see, it drove me nuts. Really going to a menu has helped me and a lot of the other people around me. So as far as like a big tool coming out of this, that was one of the tools that got me, was creating a menu versus these to-do lists that are just freaking us out.
That's cool.
That was kind of a big thing for me as far as my mistake goes. So unlike the rest of you, I don't have a significant other. I don't have children. I don't have anybody to rely on, and no one relies on me. I'm very independent.
Quit bragging, Alex.
Alex, I'm single too. Come on.
That's right. Well, you and I have gotten drunk many times throughout this process. And watched many documentaries. So the biggest thing, Amanda said it so beautifully, which was the biggest thing that I discovered. I don't even know if it's a mistake, but when you are at home by yourself, alone with nothing but your thoughts, staring at the walls of my 588 square foot junior one bedroom, the biggest thing I discovered was I've sucked for so long at taking care of myself. Having grown up in real estate, real estate isn't necessarily a job or a business. It's just a lifestyle. It's a way of living. That's what my dad did for 30 years. He's still doing it. That's just all I've ever known. And when a lot of my hobbies or passions like theater and art are taken away, there's no I found myself just in kind of a dark place. But there was a quote that I always come back to that is, grief is just love with no place to go. And that was that I printed it off and I taped it on my window, and that was something I remembered. So what I did, I started going back through kind of my life of just like, where do I want to change or grow? One of the biggest things was I had been working myself to the bone, and finally taking the leap of fear, I guess, and finally hiring an assistant who's right there.
Hi, Kevin.
They all say hi, Kevin. There's that. I wasn't. There's just a lot externally that was causing internal angst. Updating my wardrobe. Changing my office. We're moving to an office that had a window. It was just little things I focused on what I could control. Getting back to a gym with a new trainer. My old trainer was great, but of course COVID put him out of business. It's just getting little pieces back of normalcy, but also bringing back the pieces that I liked the most. So that was just this whole theme of self-care, and not just personally, but professionally, where that all comes from. That's something that I otherwise would not have pursued or thought about until I had the time of, I can fix this. I can change this. That's probably been the biggest mistake, but also the biggest opportunity, I would say too, is that. And it's kind of the theme of what everyone else said, but I'm grateful for the time and the space to just sit and think and process and think, okay, what do we want to do next? What's the plan? So that's probably been mine.
I don't know. I think that actually leads to a discussion that I'd like to hear from other people, because December for me is always a huge time of reflection, right? I think for most of us, we're wrapping up business, we're looking to the next, there's a lot of family, there's all these different pieces. And so this year, after such a tumultuous year, I feel even more, and I'm dealing with this almost conflict within myself that I'm looking back on 2020, and it's been a incredibly tough year on us at so many levels. But I feel personally like it's been a year, and I'm going to go to Sunny. You use the word adversity, which I think is such a great word to use. I feel like it's challenged me so much, and it's brought so much clarity to so many things that get lost focus, that I'm looking back on it. A, I don't think I've ever felt so blessed in my entire life. And B, I actually feel gratitude for being put through some of this to get me to a point where my family time is better. My work time is better. I'm working out for the first time in 20. I mean, I feel like going to the self-care, all these things. And so for me personally, it's been very conflicting to feel like there's so much terrible things going on in the world, but it's bringing this better point to me. So I don't look back to 2020 as this time of just being terrible. I look at it as something that's really helped me. And I'd love to hear what other people have to say about something like that.
It's brought clarity to what's important, and it's brought clarity to what really matters. It's so interesting you say that, because there was a time back in probably like June or July where there was like a couple like Zoom meetings or events or something like that. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to that meeting. I'm not having coffee with that person. I'm not going to take this picture at this thing because I don't stand for that. I mean, there's so many things. It's like, this doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That does. Like my favorite thing was driving. Like I don't go home very often to Iowa, but for my grandmother's 91st birthday, I drove back to Iowa just for the day to have lunch with her. That was like, I need to do that more often. Like that to me is more important than going to some, going to take care of some mess or issue. It's like, oh, that's important. This other stuff doesn't matter. It's like it's brought focus and clarity to what is a priority. So that was, I agree with you, Amanda. It's been very, it's been a good filter.
Here's a question for all of us then. With that grace that came about us in 2020, how do we all make a pledge to ourselves, to our colleagues, to our family, that when everything does go back to quote unquote normal, that we don't forget about that and go back into putting out fires versus going to see grandma? And so I think that's a challenge that maybe we can all help each other out together. How do we, from here on out, from this day forward, say, because of 2020, I am going to prioritize what's most important in my life? Because all of us and, our business successes, probably there's been some things that we've had to forego because of business. So how do we stay on that right side, I guess, is my question to share.
I love that question, Dennis. One of the things that this year, and it's the same life coach that, has been working with me all year, he said to me, is that if you've got all these quote unquote commitments, what is actually going to create an impact, or that you're going to even remember 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road? So if you've got two things at once, like Alex said, one's a Zoom, is it something like a self-care appointment? What are you going to blow off or say no to? Learning to say no to things that aren't going to have an impact on you or on your family or on your business or on people around you, 5 or 10 years from now. This year has been such a huge time for us to say no and learn what's valuable. That's something I've just really committed to. And I hope that, saying it on the call will remind me, and everybody else too, that the power to say no and decide for yourself what's going to create an impact will allow us hopefully to continue the meaningful conversations and the self-care and the value to the relationships that mean most, because that was something else this year. I think a lot of us figured out there were some relationships that we were chasing or following, or, leads we were paying for that were just not valuable. And in the meantime, you've got people around you that need you, that you're really, blowing off to chase after strangers in every category of your life.
You probably have all seen the same ad on Facebook, but my sister tagged me the other day in a post for a t-shirt that says, even when this is over, I still want some of you to keep your distance. And I think that's a really good point, Nick. I think it, for those of us that had the opportunity to really refine the focus of what we're working on and why, and what do we want and not want to do, and start to make some tough decisions, particularly related to work. The whole family component, I tell people all the time, I don't give anybody advice on raising kids or marriage, because they're both incredibly difficult, and I've been fortunate not to screw up, in my own opinion. Everybody's got to do their thing, but I think that you guys have all alluded to the same thing. There's been a real refinement of what everybody's doing in one sense or the other. And Sonny talks about adversity providing opportunity, and I agree. A lot of folks are still walking around complaining about masks and all this COVID stuff is terrible, but there's a fair number of us, and I think you all on this call are in that category, that look at it and say, okay, it sucks, but it's an opportunity. So we have to deal with it, and how do we move forward and make something beneficial out of it?
Calvin, I totally agree with you on what you said. And as bad as COVID, it still has its importance. What this COVID pretty much helped me, myself, and my team to define is to actually define who's real in your life. So I believe that if I'm here with you right now, you are real to be in my life. So help us to rejuvenate, to redefine what's really important. And guess what? We are going to focus on just that in 2021 and just build on from that. And I think that's what it is. And so for those who are not able to bounce back from this, and it boils down to choices. You have to decide, am I going to bounce back from this? Am I going to heal? So those are the components that you cannot really help any individual to do. Individuals have to be willing to bounce back, willing to make choices. Like you said, Alex, choices. Are you going to go to the club after this? Because you never really benefited. Now it boils down to you that the things that used to be very important to you, according to Alex, are no longer important because you're able to view them from a different angle. I think that's my perspective.
Quick question. We talk about opportunity coming from this year, COVID business. This is directly at Saul. Think about your commercial cleaning business. Has it spawned some opportunities where folks have had to protect themselves from COVID, where you've got an opportunity to meet, new clients and new business and business that'll probably be able to help you grow?
No, it hasn't. I just want to go back to the whole adversity, guys, real quick, and just listening to you guys, because you've been on this platform for such a long time. The biggest thing I've learned in the past is always be the elephant, not the hippo. So I love to listen, guys. So I appreciate everything you guys are saying, really, because it means a lot. And the one thing I'm doing is cleaning up my act, because as they say, Sonny, I'm sure health is wealth, and so the biggest thing I've been able to do is really hold myself accountable to working out quite a bit, actually, that I've never done. I had a Peloton, no lie, probably for a year, maybe worked out 5 or 6 times a month. It was more of a place to hold my clothes at times, right? So you guys have heard of that. But within the last few months, I would say the last 2 to 3 months, I've been able to pick it up. And just going back on how do we keep going? It's just finding accountability partners, to be honest, right? At work and, with my staff, I have, our operations manager really assisting me and helping me out and saying, hey, listen, someone said impact. That's the big word that's trending right now, right? It's not more about productivity. It's more impact. What are you doing today that's more impactful? And it's going to be long-term for you or your company. So anyhow, back to that point, it's just really holding yourself accountable and just finding those partners that are going to help you push you, because you can only do so much on your own, and we're all entrepreneurs here. So we know how tough it is day in and day out. But to the disinfecting COVID, that's the big thing this year. It's impacted us in both ways. It's hurt us in the beginning with a lot of our clients kind of scaling back. We've had some of them not coming back, unfortunately, but we had to pivot, and disinfecting was a portion of it, but not necessarily in a sense of service. It's more being a resource. It's more about information. It's more about education. It's more about advice these days, right? I'll take calls. Probably won't have business, but I can tell you that when I hang up, I feel very happy, just because I know that the other person on the other side of the phone is well educated and is going to make that right decision for themselves moving forward, whether it's with us or someone else. So the big word for us here this year, be the best resource you can be. It's given us opportunities, number one, absolutely. We've kind of raised our stakes on our SEO. We went all in with marketing and SEO and advertising, knowing that this is going to be a long-term commitment. So that way, when this all settles, we'll be, placed right there where we're looked at as one of the leaders in the industry. So it's given us opportunities in a sense, again, not only in service, but really educating. And so that's kind of what we're portraying ourselves at right now, is more that resource. And I think doing it that way will get us those partnerships that we're looking for, and not just sales here in the next few years.
By providing that value, that creates opportunities when the time presents itself. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I wanted to kind of chime in on, because I think it goes back to Dennis's question of how do we move this forward? I mean, as somebody in the real estate industry, one thing that I thought was really helpful in the beginning of this was that push to make us so virtual, right? Especially in the beginning, I felt like we all did this incredible pivot. We all jumped on. Anybody that was doing business figured out how to do it in a safer manner and take it virtual. But it was interesting. As we saw the first stay-at-home order open up, I felt like there was a lot of resistance from other agents. You know, for example, during the initial order, we made every prospective showing watch a video walkthrough and confirm they still wanted to see it, to say, hey, we don't want to take people out into properties if they didn't need to. And in the beginning, people really adapted to that. And we cut down on 50% of our showings. But I felt like as soon as the stay-at-home order lifted, then all of a sudden there was pushback from agents, you know, and just saying, no, we want to see it regardless. So I don't want to watch your videos. I don't want to sign your disclosure. And this whole element of us being able to, you know, and this is the quality of life thing. The fact that we can do video conferences now with our clients, I think has given us so much more ability, so much more time, all these things. But I think as an industry, these are the pieces we need to tackle. How do we put some of this into place and run with it? Because I think this is what gives us the balance to reclaim what we've learned is important to us in 2020.
Good.
Food for thought.
Dennis, to go along with your question, one of the things that we're working on, we've been scrubbing our database and going through, you know, something that's been put off for, I don't know, 7 years now. But we finally finished it.
Yeah.
He finished it yesterday. Yay! But one of the things was, you know, kind of going back to Nick's point, and Nick posted something on Instagram, was it this morning? It's like, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. To your point, Dennis, one of the things that we're doing, and that's both a personal and a professional thing, is literally going through my network of people and choosing who I want to go into a deeper relationship with, both
That's
personally, professionally, and just saying, you know, these are people that I want to look to as mentors. These are people I want to look to as not just referral sources, but people that I just like and respect. And I just want to be, you know, I want to pull an Ariel. I want to be part of their world. But the other thing too is, but on the flip side is going through of who are the toxic relationships I need to get rid of? Who are the people I need to spend less time with? Who are the people that are not cheerleaders, or they're not adding value to my life? And I'm not adding any value to theirs. Like there's you know, again, with 2020 kind of being a filter, that's one of the things that, you know, intentionally that we're working on. Like I have my little post-it here of people that need to go in the database, but also like, I need to touch base with these people, and like, I want to be friends with you.
That's a brilliant exercise.
Yeah.
I really like what Alex had to say. And then also one thing that I've gone back to is the personal notes. I, you know, coached about it to our agents, preached about it for years. And then all of a sudden I wasn't doing them anymore. You know, the personal notes, the phone calls, the birthdays, the stuff that, you know, like Alex, some of it was in my database, some of it, you know, I have a new marketing person that's helping me get that database cleaned up, but also then following through, and not just electronically. Social media is great. You know, I love to follow all you guys and vice versa, but the personal notes and the touches, I think this year have been the magnification of that. But you can't send it to 100 people a day. You can't be a birthday cards company. You are a real estate agent. You're going to have to separate out your VIPs, the people that are providing value to you. And I love what Alex just said. Are you providing value to them? There's some people this year that, you know, you can have 8 people over at your house. Well, they're probably not going to be at your, you know, little dinner, but, you know, would they even want you at their house? When was the last time you even reached out to them? So it's been a year of clearing not only the database, but the mindset. And that's for 2021. I just want to create a better value proposition around me for my friends and my VIPs.
I have a question. What is, if everyone can share, just like even a couple of sentences, what's everyone's prediction for 2021 market?
I think we'll have a strong start to the year. I think, you know, usually in Chicago, like around June, like the market just like dies. And it's like dead through the summer, and then it picks up a little bit again in like August, September, and then it dies again until the end of the year. I think we're going to see a very sharp turn back to normal in the Chicago market. I could see, with the inauguration of President-elect Biden, Democratic presidents tend to do well in larger city markets. There's a little more market confidence, I guess you'd say, in larger cities. I think there will be a lot of excitement around that. Interest rates staying low, that'll get us through. But I could definitely see we're at a point in our market where we're going into the new year with more inventory than we have in years past. So there's going to be a lot more inventory to sort through for buyers. They're going to have more options than they would in the past. I could definitely see the market sharply dropping off in June, maybe more than we have in normal market years.
I'm actually going to kind of not disagree with that, but I'm going to say that it really is all going to depend on what goes on with the virus in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
That too. That's a good point, Nick. Yeah.
Here's what I think is we're going to have the interest rates are driving the market. Point blank, the interest rates are driving the market, and you're going to see them stay low until the vaccine is fully distributed. You see people start to travel, spend money in large groups again. So that's going to be well through the end of next year and on. I know Brian Buffini and Lawrence June have a presentation at 11 a.m. today. I'm going to be watching. Everybody's saying the interest rates are going to stay low at least, through the end of next year. But what locally is going to affect us is if we do go back into a shelter in place or continue to see the restrictions move back towards what we saw in April and May, we're not going to have some of the abilities to do the movement that we have now. There's going to be more people that don't want to see houses. So I personally think there's going to be a cooling off in January and February till we get things under control. The vaccine starts getting distributed. And then I think actually conversely, we're going to have a very busy spring and summer. And then Alex's cooling off period, I think, will happen later in the year.
That's actually a good point, Nick. I hadn't thought about the vaccine. Between the interest rates and the vaccine, I think you're exactly right. I think that is going to drive the market.
I agree with what. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm actually going to challenge that a little bit in a different way. I mean, I think we have twofold. I think we have a lot of real estate coming in front of us just because this, I've done this for almost 20 years. This is the first time that so many people's housing needs have been impacted. And even as I like to use the word evolve out of this, right? We're not going back to where we were. We're going to evolve. There are so many people that are using their housing differently. So I think because we saw a lot of that stall out in the second half of this year, I think there's a lot of real estate coming at us. I actually think that, like before, that the actual stay-at-home order, if it gets intensified, could put more pressure on people to understand those things. But I think the transactions and the deals in the coming months are going to be even tougher than they were this year. I think that we're going to if you continue that thought process of people being taxed. So I think there's a lot of real estate coming. I think that the stay-at-home orders could put pressure on that, not necessarily in a negative. I think that could create a little bit of that scenario where sellers are afraid to have people in their houses, but buyers still need to buy. But I think regardless, we have to remember, I think people are going to be at their wits' ends. And I think it's going to be a lot of what, I always call hard real estate from that perspective.
It's going to be a good first quarter or a bad first quarter?
I think that there's going to be a decent amount of real estate happening. So I think the actual numbers could be good, not overwhelmingly high, because I think we're still going to be we still have people that don't want to have people in their homes. We still have that aspect, but I think the actual numbers at the end are going to feel, I use the word healthy very hesitantly, but that it's going to feel like we're working our tails off.
Dennis?
What do I think? I think I've been doing this 20 years, and this is the time of year where I start business planning for 2021. And I always hunker down because I'm very neurotic for preparing for the worst and just going out there and hustling as hard as I can to get my share to take care of my business. I don't know. I mean, I feel like what I've learned in 2020 is regardless of the market, if we dig deep into our relationships with our sphere and our network, we're going to be able to protect our business. whether it's down a little bit, whether it's up a little bit. I think all these people on this screen and a lot of people watching are going to be okay, but do not lose sight. Don't let go of the ball. You really got to dig deeper into relationships because people are in a bit of turmoil and they're trying to figure out what their housing needs are. Short term, working out of the house, and long term, how that's all going to be changed. So I think you just got to stay focused and we're all going to be okay, regardless of what that big picture looks like. That's kind of how I look at it.
I think one more thing to watch, and Kate and I did a lot of short sales together back in the day, and I was involved in the foreclosure market. You've got the eviction moratoriums. You've got the landlords are really struggling right now. There's been a lot of rent drops. Watch what happens Q1, Q2 in the court system to see if there's also going to be an influx of short sales, which would obviously, again, further impact the inventory. So that's kind of that's something I'm watching a little bit further into Q2, but I think that will also affect the market in terms of inventory. But unlike 2008 and 9, the banks are lending. Interest rates are very low. And for the people that I speak with, you're in one of two categories. It's a tale of have or have nots. Either your job this year went pretty decent. Some of my friends have been promoted. Some of my clients are in new positions, making more money. On the other side of it, my friends in the restaurant industry, my friends in the hotel industry, the airline industry, that they've had the worst year they've ever had. So those two populations, I think, there's gonna be some interesting movement there next year.
Okay, so I'll put a positive spin out there, and I'm going to throw a shout out to Matt Laracy. Matt, if you're listening, I'm going to hold you to this. He's telling us and he's promising us, and I'm going to make sure this happens. If you think about just historically, if you look at Q1 after the 8, 12, and 16 election, those first quarters after an election have been very, very strong because of all the pent up demand in that election quarter, right? So we all could have predicted in January before COVID that Q4 of this year would have been terrible because of the election. No brainer. Like there's uncertainty, people get nervous, people pause. So hopefully there will be a little bit, or my anticipation, what I'm telling my sellers and my buyers is, there will be a little bit of that pent up demand from 3 months of very, very little activity here in Q4, and people will be ready to jump in Q1. I'm teeing up, like Amanda said, a lot of listings to come. People are ready to roll like January 1st, February 1st, somewhere in the first 30 days of the year. And I hope that we have buyers for that inventory because I am concerned about inventory, obviously neighborhood specific, but hopefully there will be people ready to transact in Q1. And I think the vaccine, like you said, Nick, will boost some confidence and hopefully we'll
even think about last year, right? Not a presidential election year, but last year, Q3 and Q4 2019 was like it was terrible, right? We couldn't sell anything. And then January 15th, we all got caught with our pants down, excuse the expression. Yeah. And we were in an incredibly hot seller's market that none of us really fathomed for 6 weeks, right? I mean, it's kind of that same thing. People still have reason to buy. And literally, I felt like the 2 weeks leading up to Labor Day were some of the busiest consultation weeks of my entire career of people saying, what do I do next? Do I do an addition? Do I do this? Do I do this? And that hit hasn't come. That hit has to come at some point. There are a lot of people that are thinking about next steps. Jobs are changing, schools are changing, all these things. And that's why I come back to say, I don't know exactly how exactly it's going to hit, but there is a lot of real estate coming in 2021. I strongly believe that.
Let me pause real fast. I need a screenshot. I don't need one, but this may or may not make it in the next issue of Real Producers. And Kate, I kind of agree with your point, except I don't know who this Matt, how do you spell the last name? I've never heard of this dude.
Never heard of him. Who's that guy?
Yeah. So I mean, if the source was credible, that might be true. But
wait, I thought the market was crashing. Is he? Are we doing something right now?
That's right. Okay.
That was 2 months ago.
Smile on 3, and please don't be like my children and smile for 2 seconds. Hold it for like a good 7 to 10 seconds. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I think we actually nailed that in the first try. Hold on.
Oh, good.
We did. All right.
Woo.
That's him.
No, but that's super cool. Okay.
My Botox appointment got canceled, so if you could shade some of that in the back.
Mine didn't.
I was just gonna say, you take Nick's.
Don't knock it till you tried it. I
Alex,
don't know. I'd like to. I know we're running a little short on time. What's
Yeah,
let's do something positive in the end. What else?
I was
we
gonna
got a
say,
few more
Alex,
minutes.
you need to, if you're looking for a new trainer, you need to pop straight south here. Sonny is in the bottom of my screen. I don't know if he's in the bottom of yours, but Sonny is the man. Okay, so give him a ring and he'll take care of you.
I'm actually, one of my past clients is a trainer, so I've been.
Cool.
I've been
You've
working
got
with
multiple
him.
options, but give Sonny a shot.
I sure will. Thank you.
Or if your trainer is looking for a trainer. I'm just kidding.
Hey,
That's too.
Sorry.
Saul, are you doing a lot of like residential prep before listings go on the market? Because I think what we all talked about is that house has got to look spectacular.
that's a great idea.
Sold.
So we do turns. A lot of the focus for the real estate market, single family homes, condo units, so forth. We focus on a few areas. So one being obviously the turn cleanings to turn it over to your new client. And then some of the harder stuff. I think I mentioned this before with Andy, is that our job really is to be a resource for you all as we pivot to, we come up from a very specialized service on the commercial side. So we're kind of bringing that equipment and that mentality to the residential side. So think about smoke, think about pet smell, think about ethnic food. From my experience, I've seen that when I was looking for a condo unit, I said no to a few places just because there was some mold issues. So our job is to see if maybe we can help you as a real estate agent generate some sales, get your client that dream home, and then also obviously the seller wins as well. So it's just a win-win situation, just kind of, transitioning that whole process a little smoother, a little faster for you if we can. So we can turns, smoke, mold, and also ethnic food. So if there's anything we can do, absolutely, we're here as a resource. So any questions you guys might have as well. I know real quickly, for example, we just had a smoke, we did a smoke remediation job a few months ago. Client, basically what they did is they thought with the prime paint, just sealing it was going to do the job. But there's a process to this, right? There's a full deep cleaning of the walls, getting into those cavities with the ozone machines, using carbon filters, right, to extract the smoke particles while eliminating the odor. So there's a process to this, and that's kind of where we come in, whether it's service or education. So just lean on us. If you guys have any questions, we're here.
I love it.
New Year's resolutions.
Let's do that. I like that. We'll round robin with that, and then we can I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Then I will cut the live feed, and then we can really talk into our own jam session with that's rated PG-13 or R. So just kidding. New Year's resolutions. Floor is open. We'll wrap up with this.
Calling Sonny when I get off this phone.
Work out. Sonny, call me.
I will send everybody's info out too in a long fun email thread, which I know you guys all love. So
can I add this real quick to it? Real quick. Well, if there's any time in your lifetime to ever utilize health and wellness, healthy eating, healthy positive thought, this is the time for you to utilize that. And if you practice those habits for like 3 weeks, you see how that's going to change your perspective on the way you reason. That's going to boost your productivity, and it's going to help you think even sharper. So if there's anything that should be on your bucket list for your New Year resolution, it's a healthy habit such as exercising and eating clean. If you eat clean and exercise, you're going to wake up early every day without no depression. We were able to create a product for our demographic that specifically provide counseling sessions for all our clients, and it's been working. And my strength on that was like eat right and exercise. Just do those two components. 15 minutes every day. You see how that's going to change your child life in total, and that will strengthen your relationship, your finance, your productivity, and everything. Thank you.
I hope that includes wine. Just one.
You
brought that up. Actually, one of my newest clients that gave a transformation, I can't mention name. If you want to actually know, go on my page, you'll see that you probably will be able to figure it out. I took away her wine for 45 days, and I reintroduced this wine to her after she got her like ABS. I'm telling you, from day 1 to the 45 5 days, no wine at all. Of course, she was miserable. And every day, I gave her access to me. Call me before you cross the line. She was she was calling, and we'd be able to like do that. She got an ABS. Now she cannot stop talking about the ABS. But meanwhile, now she's drinking wine again. 2 glasses per week.
Ugh.
That's not bad.
By lunchtime.
Yeah, everything in moderation, though. You gotta do
That's right.
Yeah, Dennis has got Heineken in his coffee mug right now.
That is correct.
That's
Moderation, that is my resolution for the year. I think that's what we were talking about. And that's, my last statement is that really next year I want to live a more balanced life, like at little bits and pieces I get to this year. Just, a little bit more balanced life with pieces of that menu every day and some joy for the people around me.
I love it. Next. Who's next? I just don't want to go too far. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So yeah, 1 to 2 sentences, New Year's resolution.
2021 is what we refer to in this office as our butterfly year. This is where we hatch from the cocoon and we turn into the best version of ourselves. So cheers to being a butterfly.
You're so eloquent, Alex. I swear. Love it, man.
Or full of shit, one of the two. I don't know.
You're so eloquently full.
That's
You're eloquently full of shit. There we go. How about that? Is that good? Right.
There we go.
There's your new marketing campaign. You're welcome.
A butterfly.
There we go.
Okay, Kevin, Amanda, Saul, New Year's resolutions, anything?
For me,
I'm not a
it's,
resolution guy. I just follow my plan. I've been working with a practice productivity group since January, which in retrospect, pre-COVID was one of the best things that I did. And we just keep working our plan steadily. I think resolutions come and go all too quickly. And I think long-term planning is a better way to play it.
I think for me, it's just every year it's the same one. No excuses, just results. That's all. Just go at it and keep pushing forward.
For me, it's I'm trying to get back to having 1 day a week that I have no appointments. Just time to spend with my family, spend with myself. It's something that we lose a lot of sight of in what we do. So that's my commitment to 2021 is taking from what we've learned and having a day that is not about going everywhere else and just doing what I want with the people I want.
I love that. It's kind of like an invert. Most people are like, do this, make this many calls, return emails, and men's like, nah, F everybody else. I'm just gonna have a day for me and my family. I love that. That's great. I might steal that.
Take it.
Cool.
I'm still in Nick's balance. And I think if you time block and you're productive within that time block time, then you can actually check off wins for the day and wins for the week, which allows you that day off. So if you're accountable to yourself and if you track the goals that you're trying to make, then you can have more balance. So I'm looking for balance. I'm stealing that from Nick, but through kind of time blocking. So time block business, time block personal, and then stick by it. So
that's great. We're 5 minutes up, so I'm going to cut the live feed right now. Thanks for joining us, everybody. All right, live feed's off. Hey, I appreciate it, everybody. Kevin, Saul, Kate,
awesome.
Amanda,
Thank you all.
Alex, Nick, Dennis. You guys know the drill. If you are interested in getting on another one of these, we can shuffle the deck, give different realtors, different partners. I think we are calendared out from these until February. So if you're like, hey, I want to do another one, it probably won't be till end of January or early February anyway. So just let me know. I'll send everybody's info out. Alex, I'm looking forward to seeing your new graphic marketing campaign on Facebook come early 2021. But seriously, I appreciate everybody, and go out and keep crushing it, keep doing deals. And if you need to lean on us as a platform, I'm at your disposal.
Thank you for the opportunity and organizing this,
Thank you
Andy.
very much,
Appreciate it.
guys. Good to see
good to see
everybody.
you guys.
You guys are
Seeing
welcome.
all.
Thanks, all.
Take care.
Take-
Be safe.
Adios.
Thanks, Andy.
See
Bye-bye.
ya.